Most people never get to see what is actually hiding inside an electric vehicle battery. Today, we step inside the Aptera factory to look at one of 10 battery packs. These are among the first 10 vehicles currently being assembled on the production line right now. Seeing a real battery pack inside a real frame is a rare opportunity that does not come often. The engineer walking us through this knows this battery better than almost anyone else at Aptera. This is a real, fully working battery pack sitting inside an actual Aptera chassis frame. Getting this kind of direct access to Aptera's production floor is something very few people ever get. What you are about to hear comes straight from the engineer who built this himself. There's no marketing here, no polished presentation, just honest answers from someone deep in the work. Everything you are about to learn comes directly from the factory floor, not from a press release. So how does this massive battery actually get into the vehicle in the first place? The battery is moved over on a rolling cart that can be adjusted hydraulically up and down. That cart has a special fixture built to match the mounting features on the battery side rails. The whole cart rolls underneath the chassis and lifts the battery up into the right position. Once the bolt holes are aligned, 18 screws are driven in from underneath the vehicle. 9 screws go on each side, making for a very secure and solid structural connection overall. 18 total fasteners might not sound glamorous, but they are what keep this battery firmly in place. That number might seem like a lot, but it reflects just how much load this battery carries. The battery is not just a power source here, it is a structural part of the vehicle. There is no bonding agent or glue holding the battery to the chassis at all. It is purely metal on metal, with the screws doing all the structural holding work. The aluminum extrusion that forms the battery frame has a flange built along its edge. That flange bolts directly up to the steel frame rail sitting below the aluminum piece. The screws pass through the aluminum extrusion and thread into the steel frame below it. Threaded inserts are already set in the steel frame, ready to receive each of those bolts. This creates a battery that is not just attached, but truly integrated into the vehicle structure. It means this vehicle gets added rigidity from the battery itself, which improves the overall structure. One question that comes up a lot is why the power distribution unit sits in the back. Wouldn't it make more sense to have it up front so the high voltage cables could be shorter? The honest answer is that it comes down entirely to packaging constraints inside the vehicle. The thermal system runs from the front of the vehicle all the way to the back. Coolant lines and refrigerant lines have to travel the full length of the vehicle anyway. Aptera chose to route all of those through the tunnel that runs along the middle. That already takes up significant space in the tunnel and leaves very little room for anything else. The front of the vehicle is also where your feet sit, in the narrowest part. There is not much vertical space there, and adding the PDU would make things very tight. But here is something most people do not think about when they raise this question. Moving the PDU to the front would shorten the cables that go to the motor controller, but it would also force you to lengthen the charging cables coming from the charge port. The charging cables have a much larger cross-sectional area than the motor controller cables do. In other words, those are the heavier and thicker cables running through the entire system. So moving the PDU forward would mean adding length to the cables that weigh the most. The net difference in total cable mass would actually not be that significant in the end. So the rear placement ends up making more sense once you understand all the trade-offs involved. This kind of engineering trade-off thinking is what separates a well-designed EV from a rushed one. Every decision made here was made for a specific reason, not just because it was convenient. Small details like cable routing reflected depth of systems thinking that goes well beyond surface level. Now let us talk about how the battery pack itself is actually built from the ground up. The process starts at the module level, and each module is built in a very specific way. At the core of each module is a flat aluminum heat exchanger, about 600 by 300 millimeters. Water flows through this heat exchanger, and that is how the battery cells are kept cool. The flat surface of the heat exchanger faces upward, ready to receive all the individual cells. Each cell is placed onto that surface with a special thermally conductive bonding material between them. This is not just glue, it is a precision material chosen specifically for its thermal performance. That material does two important things. It transfers heat and it bonds the cells securely in place. Every cell is cooled from the bottom end, pulling heat away through that heat exchanger below. This bottom-up cooling approach is more efficient because heat naturally conducts out through the base of each cell. A plastic carrier then goes over the top of all the cells, holding them in precise position. Here's the interesting part. The entire module is actually assembled upside down during this stage. The cells are dropped down into the plastic carrier, which holds each one in exact position. Right now, this step is done by hand, but a robotic solution is planned for the future. Once the cells are in place, the thermal interface material is applied carefully and evenly underneath. The aluminum heat exchanger is then pressed against the bottom, and everything is clamped firmly together. It stays clamped for the entire curing period, giving the bonding material time to fully set. Getting that bond right is critical because it affects both cooling performance and long-term cell health. Once cured, thin metal current collectors are placed on top of the carrier and secured down. These current collectors are then laser welded into place using a precision German-made welding machine. The laser welding is currently done off-site, though the plan is to bring it fully in-house. But the module is not finished after the laser welding step has been completed just yet. It comes back from welding and goes through a round of charge and discharge testing first. Engineers confirm the communications are working properly and check that connections are solid throughout the module. They are also watching closely for any signs of unexpected heat, which would signal a problem. At every step of the process, there are quality checks built deliberately into the workflow. This is not an assembly line throwing parts together and hoping everything works out fine later. Every module is tested individually before it ever gets placed inside the larger battery pack frame. Once testing is passed, a fire-retardant foam is applied around the outside of the entire module. This foam does more than protect against fire, it also helps reduce noise and vibration inside. With the foam applied, the module is officially complete and ready to go into the frame. The module is then lowered carefully into the battery frame and bonded in place with adhesive. The glue used is strong, but it is also reversible if you apply enough force to it. This reversibility is part of why a module swap, though difficult, is ultimately possible to perform. This leads to a question that a lot of people naturally wonder about. What if one fails? Can you actually remove and replace a single module without having to scrap the whole battery? The answer is yes, and the engineer speaking about this knows that from personal experience. He caused one of the modules to fail himself and then had to fix it personally. He went through the entire process of removing the battery, taking out the module, and replacing it. It was done in a vehicle that had already been fully assembled, which made it considerably harder. He calls it a chore, but not impossible, and that distinction matters more than you might think. To be fair, replacing a battery module is a chore on pretty much any electric vehicle, but the fact that it is possible at all is something worth paying close attention to. Many EVs are designed with batteries that are extremely difficult to service at the module level. The ability to replace a module also tells you something important about how this battery was designed. It was designed with serviceability in mind from the very beginning, not added as an afterthought later. You do not have to throw away the entire battery pack just because one small module failed. Aptera's approach gives technicians and owners a real path forward if something goes wrong later on. So the battery can be cooled, but can the same system also warm the battery up? Yes, there is a dedicated PTC heater built specifically for the battery warming loop in Aptera. This matters a lot more than most people realize, especially when fast charging comes into play. Lithium battery cells do not like being fast charged when they are cold from the start. Charging a cold battery too quickly can cause real damage to the cells over time. Warming the pack first brings the cells to the right operating temperature before high power flows in. Aptera has thought this through and built a dedicated heating loop to handle that exact situation. That level of thermal management planning shows a real understanding of how these battery cells actually behave. Fast charging on the full vehicle has not been done yet at the time of this visit, but testing has been completed at the bench and module level with no issues found at all. Performance came back exactly as expected, which is a very confident sign for what is ahead. The team is confident that full vehicle fast charging will perform just as well when the time comes. The groundwork has already been laid at the module level, and the results came back clean. As of now, the battery pack design is functionally proven but not completely finalized in every detail. Some plastic and injection molded components are still being refined for better build consistency going forward. The goal is to make sure every battery pack comes out the same way every single time. That kind of consistency is non-negotiable at the production scale that Aptera is now moving toward. Right now, Aptera is in a phase where everything being built is setting the standard going forward. What you are seeing here is not a concept or a render, it is something genuinely real. 10 of these vehicles are being built right now, and this battery pack is inside one. Every screw, every weld, every cell, and every line of coolant has a real purpose here. This is not a company talking about what they plan to build someday in the future. They are building it right now, one battery pack at a time, inside their own factory. The process is slow and careful right now because getting it right matters far more than speed. The details shared here give a rare, unfiltered window into how Aptera actually builds their vehicles. There are no marketing layers here, no buzzwords, no carefully scripted talking points being fed to you. Just an engineer standing next to real hardware and answering every question with honesty and precision. The aluminum, the steel, the foam, the welds, the screws, all of it is really there. Aptera is not just promising a different kind of electric vehicle, they are actually delivering one. The gap between promising and delivering is where most startups struggle, and Aptera is closing that gap. That matters, and for anyone who has been watching this company for years, that matters a lot.